Recording in progress.
The state of Vajradhara. Okay, let's do the 4. Let's do the 4. Let me just take off that sound. We don't need it anymore. 1 minute, everybody. Stop, Jack. Right, and we won't hear the dog. Okay, the 4 limitless contemplation. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Sem jentam je dewatang de weju tang den baju jig, dungal tang chichu tang trawa jujig, dungal mepe dewa tampatang mindrawa jujig, nearing chak tang ni tandrawe tanung chempola ne pa jujig. So good morning to all of you. It's lovely to see all of you. And I told them I've got another room full of people here, so I'm doing it on 2 levels today. But it's lovely to have all of you. And today, stop, Jack. Today we're going to do stop now. We're going to do a few key teachings, key quotes to enhance lightness of being. Now, this is really, really, really important, lightness of being. But what I'm doing is, I'm going to give you a lot of quotes today, my favorite. But of course, when I come to give quotes, I mean, I've got files and folders and files and folders and 1,000 quotes. So let's see how we go. I want to discuss everything with you. I want to open it out because I really want you to benefit from this, okay? But what I want to say is that if we don't finish and you really enjoy it and you enjoy all the quotes and this discussion of it, then we can go on into another setting afterwards. Sorry, the dog is very agitated because my husband's bringing people into the garden and he can see them and he doesn't realize that. Can you hear him, the dog? Okay, so it's no good. I mean, he just keeps going, no awareness that I'm trying to do a group, but never mind. So today we're going to start with a little story about lightness of being. And this story is a beautiful story, but I really want to give it to you as a start, and then we'll start with the quotes. So it's called The Peacock Feather and the Wind, a Journey of Lightness. In a small, idyllic mountain town, there once lived a humble monk named Gawa. Gawa was known for his wisdom and serenity and lived in a simple temple on the outskirts of the town. One day he found a magnificent peacock feather brought to his feet by the wind. He looked at the feather with admiration and recognized the beauty and lightness it radiated. Okay, you can let him in. A few days later, the town gathered to celebrate the great festivity. All the inhabitants were cheerful and expectant, but the wind was strong and stormy and threatened the celebration. The people feared that the wind would destroy their preparations and they would have to cancel the celebration. Gawa stepped in front of the people and held up the peacock feather, and he said, "Look at this feather," he said. "It is light and flexible. It does not resist the wind, but it lets it carry it. It does not resist it, but uses the wind's power to fly. This is the true nature of lightness." The people listened and began to understand Gawa's words. They let go of their fears and allowed themselves to flow with the wind instead of fighting it. They strengthened their tents, secured their decoration, and adjusted their plans to meet the conditions. And so, despite the wind, the festival was a great success. So what this beautiful monk says, the story of Gawa and the peacock feather tells us of the lightness of being that comes when we learn to flow with circumstances rather than fight against them. Like the feather that allows itself to be carried by the wind, we too can learn to harness the forces in our lives rather than fight against them. Through acceptance and adaptability, we can find a sense of ease in our lives, even in the midst of challenges. Now, he says, this lovely guy who writes all the stories, he says, you can adapt to circumstances, you can accept circumstances. And he says it's possible to find a sense of lightness in our lives, even in the midst of difficulties. Through acceptance and adaptability, we can learn to flow with the currents of life and then find a sense of peace and harmony. Now, I just want to say something and then I'll ask you all. Everything that I've got here is really for stimulating discussion. You can all open up as well with pleasure. And so please open up and let's discuss how we get to the lightness of being, especially in heavy times. Now, what I say is most of us are control freaks. So when all seems okay, then we're okay, but we're not okay. What is the crunch here? We're not okay. Try to step back from the problem and everything, making space between you and the problem. This is so important instead of rolling negativity. You know, when you're in a pickle and you've got something really, you're like rolling negativity all the time. And I've said to 3 people this last week, can you just step back for a minute and make space rather than your rolling negativity? Because if you sit back and do your breathing and sit quietly, you can take the human consciousness out of the equation. When we've got difficult circumstances, we always use the human consciousness instead of taking it out of the equation. And when you take it out of the equation, there's a sense of spontaneity and effortlessness that can't come when we don't make space. I wanted to start with that story. The rest are going to be quotes, but I thought that was really important. Maybe anybody wants to say, you're really welcome to say, because I want this to be a discussion group. But what I want to say to all of you is that, you know, I often can get tangled up even in my own emotions and everything that's going on in one's life. But when I do, I always come and sit quietly in spaciousness. It's so important, because if you do that, you allow the true nature to go through you. You don't get tumbling in it. So I don't know if anybody wants to ask or say something, even about their own situation. Like Damika, I'm looking straight at you, and I mean, you moving again. Your life story is a story of moving, okay? I'm sure even where you go, there's something in it that is there for you to learn. You can't attach yourself to what is impermanent, you know, and it's a problem with all of us. We attach to what we've got, you know, and that's really bad. So I've started saying about my beautiful home that I've now got, I've started saying, thank you very much for the blessing of this temporary abode. Okay, and it's not temporary like my last abode was. I've got to go out of here in a box. But the point is, I still say, thank you for my temporary abode, because it's all temporary. Nothing's permanent, nothing at all. So does anyone want to say or ask? Please, eager, even you who've got lots of lots of temporary circumstances. Anyone? Okay. Do you want to go, Annette?
Yeah, well,
Got another net there. Yeah.
can they hear me?
I'll relay it.
Oh, okay. So I'm in a big pickle, looking and struggling for work. And then so vacillating between being calm and knowing that it'll unfold as it should. and then my ego mind wanting to control it and get,
Exactly
and
that.
then I get desperate and fearful. So, and then I have to always go back to it to unfold as it should.
Nat is saying that, she needs to have a job. Did you all hear? Could you hear her? Okay, great. That's perfect. So they can hear you. That's fine. So it's really important. But you see, when you look deeply in the mirror-like wisdom, it's there. I've got 5 people at the moment that can't find work. Okay, so unbelievable. It's the most terrible thing when you're single and you can't find work. You haven't got an income. And when you can't find work, it's the most amazing thing, because really so many things can happen to you if you've got a lightness of being and an acceptance that this is my creation. It's really important, really important. This is my learning lesson. Let me not fight against it. That doesn't mean you don't do anything about it. Of course you do. You're still applying for jobs. You've got to, if that story of the guy on the island where God comes along and drops him a helicopter and he says, why didn't you help me? He didn't take the helicopter. You've got to do what it takes. You've got to send in your applications and everything. But you've got to come to find a certain spaciousness that you're in the right situation at the right time. It's really important for all of you. And it's something that is really learned. So let's go to our first quote, okay? It's a quote by Jigme Linkpa. But I've got to tell you a little bit of background for this quote, because this quote meant a lot to me. And maybe having done Kunta Zangpo's prayer today, it'll really make a lot of sense to you. Jigme Linkpa is the later incarnation of Longchenpa, who was the great Dzogchen master who came along. Karen, you know about him. And Jigme Linkpa was a later incarnation. Anyway, I came across this book, The Yeshe Lama by Jigme Linkpa, and I bought it. But in the front of the book, it says, do not try and do this without a master's input. Okay, you need a real teacher to help you to do that book. So I wrapped it up and took it to India, and I was going to be there for a month, and I was going to go to my little friend Taisitu Rinpoche and get all his blessings and everything. So he got sick. I have to tell you the story. So he got ill, and he never made it during the whole month that I was there, and that was all the time I could take off. So I took this book, and I said, I am going to do these practices because that is my aim for this retreat, and I'm alone. So please forgive me and please help me to do it. So Jigme Linkpa was with me the whole time on that retreat. I mean, giving me instructions. I really felt his presence. And every sentence in that book is a mystery and something you have to work out. So I used to take a sentence and then sit and really ponder it for hours and everything. And only recently did I realize why it was called the Yeshe Lama, because if some of you remember, when I was doing Yeshe Tsogyal's prayer, it said like this: the first step on the path is when you go through all the phases: accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, and no more learning. You start on that path, or the bodhisattva levels. If you have passed that, you go to the Vajrayana level, okay? And on the Vajrayana level, you're learning creation and completion. And that's the next step. But if you remember in that prayer, if you go to the next level, it's called the Wisdom Lama. It's when all the practices are dropped and you actually get in touch with your true nature. Absolutely amazing. Okay, and that's the meaning of the book. Anyway, I had the book. So I'm going to take one quote from the book, which is really very interesting, and I want you to ponder it, because I pondered it for hours and hours. It went like this. A renowned bodhisattva, that's someone on the Buddha path, okay? A renowned bodhisattva in his final existence treasured in the theater of both comedy and tragedy. You got to ponder that. I'll read it again. A renowned bodhisattva in his final existence treasured in the theater of both comedy and tragedy. Oh my God, I wanted to know what this meant. It hit me. I wrote it in my book, and I used to write commentaries about it all the time. And suddenly it dawned on me, because one of the preliminary practices in Dzogchen is that you go through all the 6 realms, okay? And we were talking about them in the Kunta Zangpo prayer. So you start in the hell realms. What you have to do, he tells you in the book, go to a place far away, in the fields where no one can hear you, shout, scream, but act out each of the realms. So I did that, but I wasn't out. I was in my retreat room. It had lots of space, but, you know, I knew there were other people, but sometimes I used to get totally carried away. So like, for example, in the hell realms, when I was acting out the hell realm, I actually put myself into the hell, all the anger boiling in me, boiling, pulling off my clothes and then shivering because you're in the icy realms, and actually putting blankets over me and shouting and swearing and doing all these kind of things. And then at the end of it, you just lie back like this. It's called the Nadua. And then you actually have access to your nature of mind. So you do that with each of the realms, the hungry ghost, pulling everything like that. Anyway, when I was sitting one day going through all this work that I did, it says do it only for X amount of days and then leave it. And I did it. I lived in each of those realms to see what they were like so that I could help people. And then it dawned on me. I thought, I wonder what the Dakinis think when they see me running around like a lunatic. They must really laugh, because it's almost a comedy to watch how stupid we are and to see what we do in each of the realms. And yet it's a tragedy. And I realized that actually we live like this when we're on that journey with the comedy and the tragedy. It's so deep. So I'm throwing it open, and then we can do a little meditation. I mean, it really, really is. Most of our lives are like that. You can almost laugh when you see people acting so stupid about their things, you know, but you can't laugh. You feel compassion for them, but then you can cry. You can cry when people don't do what seems so obvious. I sit with people all the time, and it seems so obvious to me that they, you know, that they could do X, Y, and Z if they could just see it. I mean, like one girl who happens not to be here today texted me and said, Melanie, I haven't been here for a long time, but funny, this week I was contemplating the lightness of being, and then I saw your lecture was on the lightness of being. Well, she isn't here. If the universe didn't give her such a strong message, then what is it? It's a comedy and a tragedy. What do you think? Give me some of your feelings about this, because that sentence really resonated with me very deeply. A comedy and a tragedy at the same time as you go along the journey, especially in those realms that we were singing about in Kunta Zangpo today, where he says people get so involved in all their anger, they can't get out of it in their realms. They can't move out of it. Or hungry ghosts, as our government is really done. They're hungry ghosts. When people say, why do they do it? I say, because they're hungry ghosts. They can't get enough. They can't get enough. No matter how much they have, they can't get enough. And many of them haven't even been born in the apartheid era, and they can't get enough.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Jerry?
We have a situation with a person at the moment who just refuses to cooperate.
Yeah.
We're trying to act in the best interests of
the
our
people.
grandchild, and his father refuses to communicate. He calls meetings so that we can all discuss the problem, and when we get there, he says, I'm not talking to that one, and I'm not talking to that one, and I refuse to communicate
It's
with
a
that
comedy
one.
and a tragedy.
And so you come to a standstill, and the situation doesn't resolve itself because it requires people to commit themselves and to communicate for the good of resolving the problem.
Jerry has a grandchild, if I may explain, that has cerebral palsy and has been really, they said don't use the word handicap, has had that problem right from life, and they landed up with the problem of it. How old is he now?
30 years old.
He's 30. And he's still, they can't resolve it because the father, you heard him now, the father won't communicate. He won't talk to this one. He won't talk to that one. And they're left with the problem and the burden of looking after it. But, if you step back and you look into the mirror, you see, when you look at mirror-like wisdom, of which anger is the one side and mirror-like wisdom is the other side, it's very, very interesting because it tells me, this is what I see, and I can be wrong, I'm just telling you my own opinion about it. What I see is, again, what I was saying in the beginning, a need to control it and work it through, and maybe this is the karmic circumstance that needed to motivate your life to get you to be free spiritually, even if it's difficult. I know what I'm saying is very, very difficult to accept, but sometimes the most difficult circumstances are given to us because that is the way. Sometimes people say to me, but why has it gone on for so long? And I go, because the imprint is very, very deep. And in order to change it, it needs to hit home and hit home and hit home. So you can't resist it. In this case, it's like a no-win situation. And yet, the benefit that this, for me, this individual has come as a great, great teacher. He might even be a great being, We don't know what he is really about. And maybe the fact that it goes on and on and on is the way he teaches what he needs to teach. Just ponder it, don't argue, because it's really very important, because we're all in the right situation at the right time. And it's both a comedy and a tragedy, as Jik Malinkpa says. To watch that meeting is a comedy. When somebody's life is dependent on it, and the person saying, I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you, I'm not communicating, I'm not looking at it. It's like a real comedy in a way. How can you do that? How can you not see the seriousness of the situation? Unbelievable.
It is.
Unbelievable, unbelievable, but yet it's occurring. Anyone else want to say anything or ask anything? I'm happy if any of you want to say anything. This is for you to learn, because I've got a lot of stuff to give you. And if we don't finish, it doesn't matter. We can do it next week as well. Anybody? All right, let's go on to the next one then. The next one comes from a little booklet by Tenzin Palmo, it's called 3 Teachings, Our Everyday Life as Spiritual Practice. Now, when Tenzin Palmo, who spent 12 years in a cave came to South Africa, she actually stayed with me and gave me a couple of these books. I think I've got an extra one. If one of you want it, you can really have it. And I remember writing in the book, in her beautiful writing to Melanie and Joss, with love and thanks for all your warm hospitality and good humor, Tenzin Palmer. So I picked up this book the other day and I thought I need to give you some quotes from her. She's a very, very sensible woman. Nothing that people can't understand. So I thought, after that difficult quote from Jit Malimpa, let me give you something. So on the cover it says, to think of Dharma practice as what we do when we're sitting on our cushion or saying mantras just breeds frustration and resentment. Okay? Given the lifestyle of people nowadays, they are not monks and nuns and hermits, but in relationships with families, with careers, with social lives in a stressful environment. And she says on the cover, everything we do is Dharma practice. Dharma is being generous, being patient, having loving kindness, and developing mindfulness. So we have to use our everyday life as our spiritual practice. Then there is hope of transformation, but we have to transform our daily life and not make this partition between Dharma practice and everyday life. So I thought, I'm just going to take one little thing from her, because the thing that touches me is her story with her mother. But I want to just say, quote, when the Dharma talks about non-attachment and detachment, non-attachment and detachment, it doesn't mean a lack of love. Sometimes people don't understand how Buddhism can talk about compassion and love in one breath and non-attachment and all those qualities of renunciation in the other breath. That's because we confuse love with clinging. Saying that sentence again. We confuse love with clinging, okay? We want to hold on to what we have. Now, this is her story, quick and to the point. When I was 19 years old, now, you know, she went to India and stayed in a cave for 12 years, okay? When I was 19 years old, I told my mother, I'm going to India. She said, oh, yes. When are you leaving? I love that story. Oh, yes, when are you leaving? She said, she didn't say, how can you leave me, your poor old mother, now that you've got to the age when you're earning a living? How can you go and abandon me? She just said, oh, yes, when are you leaving? It was not because she did not love me. It was because she did love me. And because she loved me more in a way than she loved herself, she wanted what was right for me, not what would make her happy. Do you understand? Her happiness came from making me happy. She said to hold people like possessions, and she stretched out her hand holding lightly. She said, when we let go of them, we appreciate and rejoice. She says, you see, when we lose something we love, it's our attachment which is the problem, not the loss. That's what causes us grief. And that's why the Buddha taught that with attachment comes fear and grief. We have the fear of losing, and then we have the grief when we lose. Buddha never said that love causes grief. Attachment causes grief. What's the difference between non-attachment and detachment? Detachment means, I'm not even interested in it. I see a lot of Buddhist people, when I meet them overseas and everything, I've never found it with any of you, I assure you, but when I've met people in the various centers all over the world, sometimes they have detachment. They actually are not aware. I remember my first visit to Sammy Ling. There were 300 people there, and I didn't know where you got food, where you got nobody cared. That's a Buddhist philosophy. That's detachment. You're not watching what other people are suffering and you're not reaching out to them. Non-attachment means not attached to the outcome. It means you can let go, not attached to the outcome. And she says, love is an opening of the heart. It's like the sun shining. The sun just naturally shines. It doesn't discriminate, doesn't say, oh, I'm going to shine on this person and not that person. The sun just shines. That's what we have to do to give our warmth, unconditional loving. Not I'm going to love you anymore if you don't obey me. I mean, when we see what our children come with, they each come with a different package. If you take my 4 children, they couldn't be more different to each other in the world, okay? They couldn't be different. And they all have got their own ideas about love, and they're all completely different. How do you get on with them when they're even different to you? You have to use that awakened nature. You have to create a space. So my daughter, or my one daughter, used to say, oh, well, you never phone, or whatever the case is. So I thought, okay, she thinks I don't phone. So now I phone her overseas like every second day. You know, she's so flabbergasted. And my son says he phones my husband more often because he phones me. So I've started phoning him even for 3 minutes all the time. You look at what do they need. You try and do it. My son in Cape Town is a complete, he likes to do it alone. He likes to be alone. And when I tell him to do social things, Ma, don't you understand? Okay, you have to understand. These are individual beings. They come with their own sets of karma. They don't think like you. They're different. Your role is to stand back and see them. And I think that was a lovely quote, you know, because I think you really can get a lot from that detachment, non-attachment. And I love it. When she said to her mother, I'm going to India, she said, when do you leave? How many mothers would say that? I wanted to. I waited for my mother to die, and then I went to India for 6 months, you know, because I thought I can't leave her here. I wait. So after she died, I quickly made the arrangement to go because now, you know, she didn't need me anymore. Think about this. Anyone want to ask or comment? I'm very happy to have your comments because I think it's really important. I've got so many quotes, you won't even believe me how many I've got here, but it doesn't matter. I just want you to feel it and share with me. Anyone. Even when some of you look at your parents, and you see that your parents don't give you what you want and they don't understand you. And why is that? Why has my impelling consciousness, all my stuff in my liar consciousness catapulted me into these parents? What's there for me to learn? Anyone want to say? I'm happy if you don't want to talk, but I'm sure you get so tired of my voice.
Mel, it's not that at all. You know, you are saying stuff to us that we all know, and we're contemplating it. And, you know, sometimes you just stand back and you think, gosh, I know that, but I don't do that. How can I change my mind around? And you're just reinforcing all these things and helping to guide us. And, you know, we're not sort of necessarily asking you questions and everything, because I think a lot of us are thinking, gosh, I know that, and that's how I should handle it, but I don't, and I need to actually re-practice it in my mind over and over and again.
I really do understand what you're saying. I really do, because this group and we've got a very special relationship. I don't know what it is about all of you, but something in all of you just stimulates me. It's like we're so in tune with each other that, like, when I want to prepare something, it's just there. I mean, I said to myself when I found about the 25 quotes that I had, and we've done about 2 so far, I thought, stop, Melanie, but it doesn't stop. It just comes in for you. All the things that I think, I just pick up this and there it is. I pick up that and there it is. Because maybe that is true, Gail, and I can see that all of you are concentrating very, very hard. And that's beautiful, because there's such a lot to learn. How we get to that spaciousness where we can see what other people are feeling. And I try in my life to really step outside of myself, my karma, my imprints, my everything. Yeah, Karen, talk.
You've mentioned it again. Mel, you
Yes.
keep on referring to spaciousness umpteen times. So now I'm asking you, what is spaciousness?
Yeah. Well, it's not nothingness. Okay, you must remember that.
No,
Go on.
no. I just want to know if your idea of spaciousness is different to mine, or what space, because you've used
No,
it
tell me
in
what.
like multiple times in different contexts.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And for me, so
Mm.
interesting, because one of my topics that I want to spend a whole time, just mute yourself when I'm talking and then unmute yourself, because otherwise it mixes up the videos. Okay, what I'm saying to you is, for me, spaciousness is not nothingness. Spaciousness equals dharmadhatu. It's openness. It's absolute. You see, when some people talk about spaciousness, they don't talk about when your Lamelena talks about spaciousness. She talks about stillness and activity. And she says both of these are the same. Stillness is the same as activity. But what we do very often in meditation is we go to stillness with no activity. And then when we get up and the activity is there, we lose the other part. And she says you have to put the two together, stillness and activity, because they're both the same. Everything that comes out of the stillness, which is the spaciousness, is actually the same as the spaciousness, but we need to learn to see it in a pure way, in a different kind of way, which is really, really important, So that's how I see spaciousness as stillness, but absolute openness. And when they say, semni, and I've got that in one of the quotes, semni in Buddha, in Tibetan, the ni, it's in English, it's ness, spaciousness. The ness in Tibetan is ni, and ni means full of possibility. Full of possibility. That's how what's his name, that Minja Tulku, that's how he spoke about it once. I listened to him at Sammy Ling, and he said ni means ness in English, and it means full of possibility. So for me, spaciousness is when you step out of the I mean, I need, my clinging, everything, you create full of possibility. And then the possibility can happen through action and through everything through you. That's how I see it. Tell me how you see it. Sorry, unmute now again. Sorry. Yeah.
When you get to the stage of the movement or the dancing and the stillness as one can see there's no separation. So that's when when I'm aware of that, then that's my spaciousness.
Yeah.
So
Good.
that's what I don't know if anyone in the group has got their own ideas of spaciousness.
Well, Gail has just written, she said spaciousness for her is emptiness. But just whatever you all do, empty by itself means you go to the fridge and you open it and the fridge is empty and you don't like it or everything's empty. But emptiness is the knee, and that means full of possibility. So emptiness is actually the opposite of nothingness. Emptiness means full of possibility. It could go this way, it could go that way, it could go the other way, and we one taste. It doesn't make any difference. So I think that's really good what you're saying, and also what you're saying, Gail. It is emptiness, but emptiness, not empty. Empty gives us the chills. You know what we like? When our cupboard's empty, when our house is empty, we're frantic. It's not that. Emptiness for me is spaciousness. And funny, Karen, I've got about 3 articles on spaciousness of different really amazing people, and it's one of my topics for later in this year. So I'll definitely do it after you've said this. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really good. Anyone else? Can we go on to the next? Okay. You know what? Let's just do, while we've got that, let's just do a little meditation. Are you hot now? We can open up. Let's do a little meditation. We'll do a few short ones. Okay, I want you to just sit back, spinal column straight, neck a little bit tucked in, eyes either fully open or a little bit open, so that you can see and you can open yourself completely to being able to see. I want you to take any particular difficulty that you're having in your life at the moment, making a decision, finding a job, having a difficult relationship, whatever you are having in your job, anywhere, I want you to just put it out into the spaciousness. Don't touch it. Don't go after it. Just put it out. As they say, like an old man watching children at a bus stop. He's not participating. He's just watching them play. Watch as your difficulty unfolds and plays and expresses itself. Don't touch it. If you go in to think about it, bring your mind back to the breath and the openness and the spaciousness. It's a kind of an allowing. You open up and it allows you to see. Remember, when you become enlightened of any nature, you see things with pure perception. That's very different to the way we see things. Pure perception means, however difficult, however painful, however insoluble, unsolvable, there is a deep reason for your benefit. And usually the benefit is to awaken you. The benefit might be for a particular relationship that is really difficult, that you need to change your perception. So just allow it to be. When you breathe in, when you breathe out, let it be a little bit longer than the in-breath. So you are breathing in and breathing out a little bit longer, allowing it all to go out. If you don't touch it, if you just watch it, observe, it will actually dissolve back into the emptiness, into the spaciousness from whence it came. Just consider completely and totally this is temporary, transient impermanence. Jigmelinpa said, the theatre. In the theatre, you are acting out comedy and drama. It's just a theatre. Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche says, when you're watching a movie of the Second World War, you're sitting in the theatre, you're watching it, and it's really, really troublesome, and you're hiding under the seat, and then it's over, and it's all dissolved back. That's your life. That's what I tell people when they die. Move. Don't cling. Move into your space. Don't hold on to anything. These are all given to you to learn. Just move out. No attachment. We'll do a few meditations. There's a lot here to learn, and you can write down, you can send me text with pleasure, I don't mind. But I want to do another quote, which is really interesting, okay? I want to do a quote where Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche is doing all the preliminaries, and then right at the end, when it comes to the main practice, he says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words, and it goes like this. In the manner of the ground, path, and fruition. In the manner of the ground, path, and fruition. And he doesn't give you the explanation there, but if you go to the beginning of what he's talking about, he gives you an explanation. This explanation I'm going to do so briefly, but it's mind-boggling. Let's go through those 3. In the manner of the ground, the path, and the fruition. Now let's do it in terms of how it is, the ground, and then how it expresses itself, and how it is in terms of the bodies. Listen carefully. The ground is primordial purity. You can write this if you want, because it's really good to contemplate. The ground is primordial purity. How is it represented when you see it as something? Samantabhadra. It's represented by Kuntazangpo or Samantabhadra. The ground, the primordial purity, Samantabhadra or Kuntazangpo, they're the same, just in different languages. And it is the Dharmakaya. So when you put it together, the ground is primordial purity. It's who you really are. It's represented by Samantabhadra or Kuntazangpo, the primordial Buddha, and it's called the Dharmakaya. It's your essence. It's your space. It's your emptiness. It's out of it comes everything. Second point, the path. The path. What's the path? The ground is primordial purity, the stillness. The path is called spontaneous presence. Spontaneous presence. What does that mean? It means it expresses naturally, out of the essence, naturally. It never stops. It's really beautiful when you see it with clear eyes, but when you see it with your human eyes, you can't. But the path is spontaneous presence. That's all. It just comes naturally, out of the essence, out of the essence. Just what Karen was saying a minute ago, how do you see it? It's the movement, out of the essence, pure, spontaneous presence. How is it represented? It's represented with the 5 wisdom Buddhas. I won't go into their names to confuse those that don't know them very well. The 5 wisdom Buddhas. That is the spontaneous expression, the wisdom. That's how it really expresses itself. This is all pure. And it's called the Sambhogakaya. The Sambhogakaya is sometimes called the body of enjoyment. It's not your physical body. It's your pure, luminous body. It's the body of enjoyment. That is the path, the spontaneous presence, the 5 wisdom Buddhas, the Sambhogakaya. Let's go to the last one, and then you can ask me if you want. The fruition. What's the fruition? How does it land up? The fruition is not primordial purity and spontaneous. It's called manifestation. So when there is a Buddha and he wants to manifest because you need him, he just manifests in a body, a nirmanakaya, okay? And what does it represent? It represents the Buddhas of the 6 realms. The Buddhas of the 6 realms are part of the mandala of your heart. Do you know that each realm, the hell realm, the hungry ghost, the animal realm, the human realm, the jealous God realm, and the God realm, each has a Buddha that represents it. And that Buddha is not sitting down in a cross-legged position. He's standing up on a lotus, okay? Why? Because he has to be ready to go wherever he's asked for. So there's 6 Buddhas. And if you go into the mandala of the heart, and I want to teach you the 100 deities, but when you go in, there's 6 Buddhas standing on a lotus. And if you go into your own body, there's 6 places in your body where those Buddhas stand, because it's really inside, not outside. And that's the Nirmanakaya. Now this little table, Bern, you can make a lovely table and let's put it up every now and then, you know. It's really a beautiful thing. The ground, primordial purity, Samantabhadra, the Dharmakaya. The path, spontaneous presence, effortless, just beautiful presence. The 5 wisdom Buddhas, the Sambhogakaya. Fruition, how it manifests in our worlds. The Buddhas of the 6 realms, the Nirmanakaya. That is us. That is who you are. That is the pathway. That is everything. That quote is everything that we ever need. So if you are going anywhere, if you are going to die, please pack this in your suitcase, okay? So if you don't find your essence, if you don't find your Dharmakaya where you should go, then you might be able to find the beautiful, when you come to the second bardo where all the rainbow colors and beautiful, you'll say, I know, we were talking about this in our group, I'm going there. That's released in the Sambhogakaya. If not, then you come to the bardo of becoming, where all your karma is shown to you in front of you. And if you haven't resolved it, zook, into another lifetime with all the crap again. Sorry. And worse, because you didn't do it when you had the chance, when it was shown to you. I can't explain to you how passionate I feel about all of this. Watching people making a mess. And I'm going, don't, please. I sit with myself. And even when my husband is doing all kinds of things, like this morning, he said, this is not a shrine, this is not a center. Okay, he said. I said, well, I can't help it. They're coming and that's all there is to it. And he was carrying on and on in my ear. And I said, I'm not listening. I'm just not listening anymore. Look, she's already done it there. Beautiful. Ground essence, primordial purity, path, meditation, spontaneous presence, represented by the 5 wisdom Buddhas, the Sambuca account, fruition, manifestation or action, represented by the Buddhas of the 6 realms, are not real, and the Nirmanakaya. That's all you need. Pack that in your case when you're ready to leave, please. Beautiful, isn't it? It really is beautiful, that, because that's all you need to know. That's all you actually need to know. Okay, that's all you need to know. Nothing else. And when you die, that's all you need, okay, to know. You're going to try and go out in the Dharmakaya in your essence. If you can't, you're going to try the next bardo to free yourself. When you recognize those beautiful Buddhas and all their families and all their lights and all their colors, just move. If I'm around, I'll be pushing you. Okay. Shame. I'll give you a light one now. I thought this, I'm going to go to a light one because I'm giving you so many things. Then we'll do some meditation. I've got hundreds of these. It's not there. Just let me see if that's where to. No. I've got to find this, which I really like. Yeah. It's by Thich Nhat Hanh. Okay, it was always my favorite when I came onto the Buddhist path many years ago. But he says like this: the right view. What is the right view? He says, if you come to Plum Village for a day, that was where he lived, in Plum Village in France. You have an idea about Plum Village, but that idea isn't really Plum Village. You might say, I've been to Plum Village, but he says, but in fact, you've really only been to your idea of Plum Village. Think about this. Your idea might be slightly better than that of someone who's never been there, but it's still only an idea. It is not the true Plum Village. Your concept or perception of reality is not reality. When you are caught in your perceptions and ideas, you lose reality. I love that. So he says, no view can ever be the truth. It is just from one point. That is why it's called a point of view. You've got a point of view. That's why it's called a point of view. If we go to another point, we'll see things differently and realize our first view was not entirely right. Right view is the absence of all views, the path of non-conception. Just think about your life and think about how many views you have in your life. How many things you think about, even in your children, even in other people, even about me, and that's only your view, nothing else. What do you think of that? I want to hear your little voices now. Oh, I wasn't meant to go there, everybody. I was meant to go on the other page. Please, Abby. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, Mel. I just wanted to know the person, the book that you're getting this from, the name of the book and the name of the person.
Oh, that's Tulku Urgent Rinpoche.
The right
That
view.
Oh no, that's Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know. It's one of his books. I'm not sure because I had the quote in my case. I'm not sure which book. You'll have to Google, Abby. I don't know what the name of the book was, but it's such an interesting thing that he had, So interesting. Just okay, that's fine. So I'm going to go on one more and then we'll do another meditation. I've got so many beautiful ones. I'm going to James Lowe. I've taken a lot of the more Western people. I have taken some of the Tibetans, but the Western people often have an idea of how we see things. Now, James Lowe, I don't know how many of you have read his books, but they're wonderful. He calls a spade, and he had a guru who called a spade. And so he just says it as it is. And this book is called This Is It. Okay, but I haven't only taken it from that book. I've also taken it from one book he did called Being Guru Rinpoche. Not looking at Guru Rinpoche, being Guru Rinpoche. But this comes from This Is It. I've just taken one quote. Goes like this, and I want you to think about this. Invading, stealing, killing, and raping without guilt or apology. People do this, he says, because they think it's a way to feel secure. If they're stealing or they're raping or whatever, they think it's a way to feel secure. He says, these have become the order of our modern world. I think we all agree. But now listen to the next sentence. Until eventually the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are provoked into displaying their wrathful forms. Can I read that again? From all these awful things, eventually the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are provoked into displaying their wrathful forms. Okay, herukas, they come with 5 heads and horns and all kinds of unbelievable things they come with, okay? He says they're provoked by us. I want to know what you think of that. So in other words, those wrathful deities that we read about all the time would not be there if it weren't for all our negativity that we did brings them into being. So because of what we do, and because of the wrong thoughts that we have, we invoke it. We then start to actually have, they've got to come in a wrathful form, because how else are they going to stop us from all our nonsense? So when people ask why are there so many wrathful deities, those wrathful deities are not really wrathful. They've just come to scare us out of all these negative emotions. Now, I want to just go on with it from his book, Being Guru Rinpoche. He says there are 2 ways you can look at the Dharma. One is the ultimate way, okay, which just is. The ultimate way is left in all the termas, and we believe in the truth of these things that Guru Rinpoche left. We believe in it very strongly. And so those are the ultimate view of the Dharma. But then there is a relative view. Now I want you to listen to what he says. The relative view, which we all know, is called dependent co-origination. So this happens because of that. That happens because of that. That happens because of that. This happens because that happened before. This happens because very important to understand that and the ultimate level. Now he says, in the Tibet, there was a king called Indrabhuti. He was old, he was blind, he didn't have children, there was a famine in the land, there was a drought in the land, and there was illness. Doesn't sound very different to what some of the places on this earth plane are like, okay? And he says, what King Indrabhuti did, now I want you to listen carefully because this is what you can do. What King Indrabhuti did was, he made absolute devoted prayers to Amitabha. He was lucky to know Amitabha. He made these unbelievable prayers to Amitabha. And he says those prayers were like a hook. And Amitabha then manifested a Hri, and on the Hri came Padmasambhava on a lotus. Now, I want you to understand this very deeply because I don't take any of my quotes lightly, okay? So a Buddha can manifest what you need in any form when there's a cause, a direction. The Buddha's compassion manifests in response to people's practice. Very important, okay? So after we've got the cause, we then go beyond it to the real ultimate emptiness, which goes beyond causes and effects. But first, we need to develop the hook for those causes to come into being. Now, I want you to think about that. Have you developed a hook for what you need? And also people say to me, but I've prayed and I've prayed and I've prayed and it doesn't happen. The reason it doesn't happen is when you don't have the karmic virtue for whatever you're asking for. You must know that. Because otherwise it'll appear. And it's such an amazing thing, because I have to tell you this quickly while we're doing it, that the other night, the heat in Johannesburg was unbelievable last week, okay, and no rain. Anyway, in our simplex, we were told, first of all, we've been told that even when there isn't a shortage of water, you can't water your garden only before 6 a.m. or after 6 at night. Okay, so our water system goes after 6 at night. But last week, all the water in Johannesburg is gone. So luckily we've got showers because we've got alternative things, thank goodness. But we couldn't water the garden. So I'm sitting on top of my bed like this, and I'm watching these flowers. It was about 9:30, 9:45 at night, and I'm going, oh my goodness, these flowers are drooping and we've just planted them. And it's so sad, and I feel their thirst, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm thinking aloud, I'm going, should I sneak out, because we've got the people above us that can see into our garden? Should I sneak out and get a bucket full of water and just go to a few of the flowers and just water them? Should I do that? Okay, so I'm thinking this in this heat, and all of a sudden I hear this rain. No thunder, no clouds, no nothing. It rained for about 20 minutes, okay? Not hard. It was a light rain and everything, just a light rain. And when I heard it, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. There was no indication. It came for 20 minutes to a half an hour and left. The next day it rained, but I couldn't believe it. It was a hook. It really was a hook. And you will find that you can have a hook too for things that you really need to do. You really can. And it's really important that you see this. Very important. So the hook is number one. Number two of James Lowe is, Tantra or Vajrayana, at its root, is ecstasy, is called ecstasy. Tantra is called ecstasy. And he says, what is ecstasy? Ecstasy comes from the Latin word ecstasis. Ecstasis. What does ecstasis mean? It means a stepping out of yourself. I love this. I think it's so incredible. A stepping out of yourself. So he says, not a self, because self you think you are is constructed from your assumptions, from your karma, from habitual tendencies. That's why in Tantra we visualize ourselves as deities. We move out of our ordinary sense of self and we're free to act in a different way. So if I'm Chenrezi, then I can actually visualize myself pouring into every one of your hearts, okay? Because it's not me, Melanie, it's Chenrezi in me. If I'm Tara, every morning I think to myself, green Tara, I'm definitely green Tara today. And I go, please in me, help me to have action, accomplishment, perfect action. Help me to go speedily. There are too many things I have to do. So help me to go speedily but thoroughly. You step out of yourself. What do you think of that? It's mind-blowing, actually. Let's do it in a meditation. Come on. From ecstasis in Latin, your Vajrayana practice, deity practice, is a stepping out of yourself. Who you are, Bernice, Natalie, Nicola, Damika, Abigail, all of you, Denny, David, all of you, who you think you are, is just a whole lot of concepts, a whole lot of karma, a whole lot of causes, habitual tendencies, assumptions you've made of yourself. It's not really you. Now step outside of that and choose your deity. It's not external, it's internal. I am Guru Rinpoche. I am free to manifest in millions of different forms everywhere. I am free to do the enlightened activity of subjugation of all those with really deep negativity. I am white Tara. I am able to bring great healing. I am a wish-fulfilling wheel. Whatever you need, ask me, and I can produce it for you if you are in the right place at the right time and you give me the hook. I am purity. I'm not going to get involved in all the negativity. I'm going to see it through my pure eyes. I am Chenrezi. Step aside from yourself. I have such deep compassion that all I want to do is help thousands and thousands of suffering beings. I know how to help them. I can see right into them. I can free them. I am Chenrezi, the Lord of the world. That's all I have is deep compassion. It comes out of my pores. Once I had 100 arms in one of my manifestations so that I can tend to everybody. I am Vajrayogini. I am a Dakini, free, open. I'm always looking to the sky. I've got all the implements I need. I can crush you, I can build you, I can do whatever I want to do. And if you are me, nothing is the limit for you. I am the medicine Buddha, blue, full. My aspirations are so deep inside me that I have pledged to save every sentient being, and even those not ill with repression, with poverty, in earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes. I have promised to do this. These are my aspirations. Pick the deity that really means something to you and step out of yourself and allow the spaciousness, the emptiness, full of possibility to work through you. Make a pact today that you are going to be this deity in action, even just for today, even just for an hour. It's all inside you. You don't have to do it outside of you. And when you get up from this talk, act as though you were that ecstasis. You've stepped out of yourself and you have allowed, you've brought the hook into being. You've asked and you've prayed and you've asked for things to happen, and they've happened. They come into effect. Miracles, non-miracles, just a moment of touching people's hearts. Just a moment of not bemoaning your plight. Whichever being you like to do, some of you might have other beings. Step outside of yourself and walk through today as that being. Have you had enough of me? Because I've got hundreds of these things for you. I'm sure you've had enough of me today. Shall we just do one quick one? No, we won't. I think let's just ask whatever you want. So I want to do some refuge, and I want to do somebody's phone. I'll do a quick one. A lovely one, if you're ready. Just a short one. Once Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche was doing a session with the master Jet Li. He's a famous movie star. He's a famous movie star wherever he comes from, I think China or wherever he comes from, one of those places. And he, from his Tai Chi and everything, he's a very famous movie star. And one day there was this YouTube, you could try and get it, of Dzongsa interviewing the master Jet Li, who'd done a most amazing work. And he is a Buddhist, and he, with all his fame, he still does all his Buddhism. He's absolutely amazing. Anyway, very short one. He was in Thailand when the tsunami hit. Very interesting thing. He was in Thailand when the tsunami hit. He had his 2 daughters with him, and the little one was with a carer. And he and the children were in the ocean. I don't know if the older one was. And that tsunami started, okay? And as it started, his carer and his younger daughter, he was near the end. They just got washed out to sea. Okay. Now, I think if any of us was in that situation in the tsunami, we would have started screaming. We would have started. Do you know what he did? And I've got it written down. He said, as he watched his child being swept away out to land, he said, he thought clearly in the water, watching this happen. He thought, at death, we are all equal. Whether we'd had fame, poverty, good, bad life, we face death as equals. The circumstances at that moment don't matter. He said, death equalizes us. Quite something. I thought of myself in that situation. Can you imagine thinking, death equalizes us? That child doesn't really belong to me. We in a situation we haven't asked to be. And in death, we all are equal. We face whatever we've created, whatever we've done. So it equalizes all of us. Quite an amazing quote. Don't you think? You're all silent as anything, okay? Now, when I stop, you're all going to say, oh, now I want to know this. I've got many quotes like that. Very interesting things. Would you like to do another session like that? Would you be happy? Okay. And then that will be part 1, eat. We'll do part 2, and I'll give you all the others. I've got lots of very, very interesting ones. So many amazing people with so many quotes. But that one really hit me. Death equalizes us. Quite amazing. So let's dedicate. And let's dedicate to all the people who are suffering. And let us really think of that Kunta Zangpo prayer, which really brings a most amazing thing for everybody. And then I will answer some of your questions if you want to at the end. But I'm thinking of all the people trying to free themselves in Iran, trying to free themselves in Gaza, trying to free themselves in Sudan, in Ukraine. I mean, I saw there was the most unbelievable statement by Zelensky, who said that, you know, he actually compared Putin to Hitler, which is quite an interesting thing, because he said before the World War II, Hitler said, all I want is this territory and that territory and this territory. He said, and the World War came. And he says, all that Putin is doing is saying, I want this territory and that territory. He said he's never going to be satisfied with that. Very interesting. So let's dedicate, if there's any learning for anybody, it's dedicated to all sentient beings and to all of them who are suffering, and to those that don't know this is just a temporary drama. Through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience, may all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam diye tamche zipane, topne nepe dranam pamshene, jegana balak dropaye, sipe sole doa dro warsho.